tell you the truth.
Welcome to the Fearless Podcast, Season 1, Declare War on Fear. We're gonna be talking about some themes and thoughts about this thing called fear and how it's a call that's on our life to actually declare war on it. In fact, I've written a whole book on this thought, and I'm gonna be interviewing several different people, and my guest today is a close personal friend and also someone that wrote a foreword, a little piece in my book. Excited to have him here today. None other than Grayson, the Professor, Scott Boucher, born June 10th, 1984. He's an American all-professional street baller. He's most known for playing in highly stylized international and one mixtape tour. He's also appeared in several movies, including Semi-Pro, Ball Don't Lie, and Hustle. And since the N1 mixtape tour folded, he has played on several other streetball teams, but most notable, he has transferred his fame into coaching NBA players and a YouTube channel with over 7 million subscribers. Would you welcome to the show, the Professor?
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Let's go.
glad you're here, man. Glad I got through reading that bio. That was quite a long list of amazing things that you've done, and man, just number one, just want to thank you for being a part of this and co-signing on my book, and you're actually a part of our church family there every week. The second row to the right, I could count on you. Amen to me, answering altar calls, going after God. Maybe many people out there don't even know that you are such a man of God, but I just, you vouched on my book. I'm a vouch on you that the Professor is one of those real Christians that really loves God, really loves people, and is serious about his faith. And whenever he's in town, he's home for church and has made this church his home. After I almost beat him in basketball one time. That's a long story. But we actually had you out at Fearless.
Yeah, and it's true, right? We only played to what?
No, I didn't know
what we played to, but you got to get some buckets.
After this, about the second shot, he almost collapsed my lung. Full stop, real story. At the end of it, found out he had a blister. I was just praying he wouldn't break my ankles because I am not a basketball player.
I was trying.
But trying to do the altar call after we played basketball, literally had to have my wife come up and do it because I couldn't even breathe.
That's right.
You had this old man on the floor, man. I had to go all out for the church, you know?
The thing about basketball, it's like a different muscle set that people don't think about, right?
Totally.
If you're not accustomed to playing it, like you do a different sport or a different workout, it doesn't always translate. So
No, it definitely didn't translate to my lungs.
Yeah.
I went to the doctor that week because I was coughing all week, and he said, yeah, bro, you got to be careful. You're over 40 trying to play the Professor in basketball. Anyways, hey, let's get started, man. Excited to have you here. And we are in none other than, tell us about this place.
Yes. This is the Professor Live and Global Hooper headquarters.
Wow.
With studio downtown LA, but proudly right next door to Fearless LA Church, where I go. You're the head pastor of, and yeah, man, we love it here.
Yeah. And you have your whole team working behind us, making videos, making clips. You bring professional athletes in here and either train with them or do all kinds of things. And you rent this place out, do all kinds of things. So, man, we're excited to be your next door neighbors. And then we use this for the kids ministry on Sundays.
Partners. Exactly. Which help. It's a big reason why we got it. You know what I mean? To be able to partner up, right? These places aren't cheap downtown.
Yeah, it's awesome. So if you're ever in downtown, and you come to Fearless Church, you might be able to peek into the kids ministry and see the Lair 12.
Let's go.
And, but excited to have you here. I see that you attended, how do you say the name of your college?
Oh, yeah, no, it's Chemeketa.
Okay, I didn't want to cuss.
Yeah, no, you're good.
It's Chemeketa.
Everybody says Chimekita. Chemeketa, yeah.
Cheetos, I don't know.
It's like Native American.
Yeah, Chemeketa Community College, where you played on the basketball team, but as a sophomore.
Barely, yeah.
you forfeited your college eligibility when you became a professional street baller. And how did you know? I mean, we're just getting right into this, but how did you know right away? We're talking about fear today. We're talking about declaring war on fear. You know, you're playing college ball. This is not like my son's 9 and he's in a sport. It takes a lot of work to get to there.
Yes.
And then to just say, okay, I'm gonna walk away from, I guess, like, let's say the corporate way of doing this into this creative new thing that's
hip-hop
happening.
basketball. Yeah, it's
Hip-hop basketball. At that time, it was taking the streets, but I'm sure there was a lot of people saying, oh no, it's just a fad. It's just and so you left everything to pursue street ball. How did you know this was the right call? Was there fear in doing this? Like, was there voices that were like thinking you're crazy? Tell us about it.
So there was definitely fear involved, you know, in certain spurts, but I didn't know it was the call. I just kind of went with what felt good, right? This is before I came to know Christ.
Yeah. Okay.
So all I know was ever since I was about 3rd grade, I wanted to be a professional basketball player. For everybody that time, that means the NBA, right? Nobody, until you get older, you don't even know you can go overseas and play ball, which is a really hard feat. There's not very many Americans who can do that. And then outside of that, it's like maybe the Harlem Globetrotters, but nobody really knows about that either because it's not really to the forefront of mainstream, right? It's like we all know it, but
you just know
don't really
the
know
NBA.
what it is. Unless it comes to your
And you
city.
feel like that's number 1, so why go after number 2?
Exactly. So we going for the top. You know what I mean? Grew up on Michael Jordan, Allen Iverson.
Shout out, by the way, I got my Bulls.
I love this. Yeah, I love this.
It's a Pippen jersey. But
shout out to Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen was on a flight with us like a couple years ago, actually.
Wait. Tell us about this. Did he know you? Did he recognize you?
Yeah, sidebar. He was on the flight with us in first class. My cousin actually sat right in front of him, and he had a Global Hooper hat on, and Pippen's like, he's like, yo, he tapped my cousin on the shoulder, like, what brand is that? And he's like, oh, it's a Global Hooper. You know, our cousin, the professor, he was like, you ever seen Spider-Man basketball? He figured that was the biggest reach of anything on our digital. And he goes, nah, And he's like, it looks cool. And so we're like, all right, thanks.
So who knows if Scotty went home and he's one of your
there's a chance.
viewers.
His kids both follow me on Instagram, so maybe.
Okay.
You never know.
Okay.
The B-ball world's
shout out to Scottie Pippen if you're watching this.
Absolutely. Thanks for the love on that.
I know you're a big follower on me. I got your jersey on. We got the professor here. You met his cousin.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
That was super cool. But back to what you said, man.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was the call, but it felt right. So here's how it really went down with me in college. A lot of people don't know this. I barely played college basketball. I always had a great offensive skill set, like a shockingly good one, right? Like my trainer, I was in 5th grade. He would take me up to the Portland Pro-Am, which is like the only notable city in Oregon, right? Where there's hoopers.
Yeah.
And he would even show me the NBA players. He'd be like, "Yeah, Grayson, do that crossover." And I'd do the Iverson crossover and shake somebody like right in front of an NBA player or a college player. And people would be like, yo, this kid got handles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ever since I was little.
Wow.
But when it came to the conventional game, I was from Oregon where they play a different style of basketball, a lot of X's and O's, a lot of offense, not really played like the NBA or kind of like how I was emulating. So my style of play was very complimented. It was always kind of dumbed down or like they viewed it as like showboating, which I was a showman, but like it also was productive, but like they didn't really know how to.
And did you have coaches that were like trying to?
Yes. Yeah, it was always being like suppressed. And so to the point where I knew I was a good player. I knew I had like crazy skills, especially on offense. But they made me think like when it got to the regular game, like I just don't qualify because it's about all these other things that like it was just the way they viewed the game, right? They very Hoosiers, like very like Princeton offense, kind of just like white people basketball. Like
pass, do this.
Yeah. So
do that. This
so
is the
basically,
only guy that shoots.
Yeah. So basically, we come all the way to college. I finally had transferred schools my senior year to play at a small private school where I finally played varsity. Like I'm JV as a junior, which is like embarrassing if you're a hooper. But I think what it was is coaches always viewed me. I looked like I was 12 years old though. Like always looked like 10 years.
Which helps at this point.
Yeah, it's good. Good. 40, we're loving it. We're loving it. But back then, man, it was like heartbreaking, right? So I finally play varsity. The coach loves me at this private school. I go second team. I get second team all state. I was 1 vote away from MVP. So I'm thinking like I'm going to get letters and I don't know how it works, right? With colleges.
Yeah.
Didn't get any looks because our college only had 300 kids in the whole school, right? The school I transferred from had like 4,000 kids. So like you don't look at the small schools.
Yeah.
So I went and tried out for just like local junior colleges in Oregon. And I killed it. I remember one open gym trial. I don't think I missed a shot. It was like super, like I didn't miss a shot. Like I played 3 games.
Wow.
Flawless effort. Like I'm definitely playing, right? And then they tell my dad every time, like, man, your kid got some skills, man, but we just don't think he can guard anybody at this level because I just an underdeveloped body, right? No muscle. I weigh like 125, 130.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I look like I'm 12.
I mean, the videos of you that I watched.
Yeah.
You look really small compared to the other guys.
Yes. Which, so it ended up being the beauty of it. But at this point, it was like rough. So my dad actually owned a jewelry store in my hometown. It's still family owned today, right? But my dad retired, but him and my uncle owned it. So the head coach of the local community college went and bought jewelry for my dad like regularly. And my dad had been persuading him to like give me a shot. He's like, man, my son's good. I'm trying to tell you, man, the talent level. He's like, so the guy was nice enough to actually give me a look. Like funny enough, most college coaches ain't going for that, right? So the guy actually gave me a look, let me redshirt. But then a bunch of guards got injured before the season, so I had to suit up. Redshirt is like, you're not quite developed enough. We'll try to get you stronger for a year or something or improve you. So I had to go right in because we had injuries. So I played I didn't really play every game, but if it was like garbage time, I'd get in for like 3 minutes maybe. And so I go through that season and maybe one game I played 10 minutes was my most. And I had like 8 points or something. That was like my season highlight. Yeah. But, guys were good. They were going D1 and D2 that were on our team. Like there were some good athletes. So after that season, I still big fan of And1, right? Like I'm more of a fan of that at this point than the NBA. It's just what captivated me, man.
And they were doing what you were doing.
Yeah,
they
it's
were
like
honoring that.
The energy of the crowd. I realize now I love showmanship as much as I like hoop. Like, a lot of hoopers when they're done playing, they want to get into like the utility of like training players and coaching. Like I'm not even into that. Like what you read off there, that bio, the coaching NBA play. I really just showed him a couple street ball moves. You know what I'm saying? That's like a YouTube collab. Most of my thing is all entertainment based. You know what I mean? Like I love the entertainment. I love video production. I like impacting and inspiring people. Yeah. So that's really what I like. So, and one was that.
And basketball was just the vehicle.
Exactly. And I love basketball. Don't get me wrong, but I like it in a certain way. And one was that on high. So like, I love And1. So after getting done with my freshman year of high school, I remember I felt like I couldn't play ball any more than I did, but there was room for improvement. So like, instead of like playing for a long time once a day or twice a day, I went to 3 times a day. My coaches had me in there 5 a.m. making 500 jumpers before class. Then afterwards, we'd have like open gym at 2:30. So we'd play for a couple hours, then I'd hit the weights, and then I'd go back. When I went home, I'd work on my game in the driveway, or I'd go to the local gym. So I'm 3 times a day in it, plus hitting the weights for
3 times a day.
Yeah, plus hitting the weights for the first time. So I never dedicated this much time, right? This is like pro level dedication. So I did that for a few months, and then I think my maturity just kind of caught up to me. And then at some point, I was no longer like, I used to shy away from contact. Like I was a great on offense, but like I'd still shy away from like physicality. So at some point it clicked, and I was no longer worried about that. And next thing you know, I was like the best player in the gym at open gym. Like in a matter, like a month away from the season. I just got this confidence. It like all clicked. But then it just so happened, And1 was coming up, the tryouts, and I didn't even know they were having tryouts. I just went to watch.
And this is back in the day where I'm feeling like it's on mixtapes. Like it's on, it is called the mixtape, but it's on like VHS tape kind of thing.
Exactly. Or like, so it had a cult following with the VHS
People
tapes.
may not even know what a VHS tape is.
Yeah, so sorry.
They're like, what is that? I mean, the thing you put in and you rewind it and you have to, the whole thing. They were
school, before DVDs.
And it was paired with the shoes. If you bought the shoes, you got the free
If you
tape,
just tried them on, I think you got a free mixtape.
Wow. And there was no YouTube. There was no. This is like you bought some shoes, you got a tape, and you wore that tape out. You've been watching, you've been rewinding it. You're in your room trying to do the moves.
Obsessed with it.
Obsessed with it.
Not even knowing it, but I'm culturing And1.
As a college student.
As a high school and college student.
Yeah.
Like my senior year of high school, people don't even know is I have on And1s in my thing. Like this was like meant for me.
Yeah.
Like literally. So then
the tour's coming through town, and they're going from town to town and doing what? What were they doing at these?
So they already had the cult following, the mixtapes had gotten so big in the basketball world that ESPN gave them a show. So they had a show on ESPN and it was just documenting their tour. It was like BTS of their tour, like the life. But then obviously the heavy appeal was the games, right? The highlight reel of the game in that city. So this is like season 2 of And One Mixtape Tour. When they came to my city the previous year, I actually made it to the finals. I played a 5-minute game against the mixtape. I played one game.
Because when they would come to town, they would just play people that are there.
Yes.
And that was a part of the show.
Yes.
And was it like there became a time where they were playing them became an opportunity to maybe play for them?
No, so that hadn't been a thing yet. So I'm thinking I'm going and I'm like, you know,
you're just going to watch.
I'm going to watch, and I would have been cool just watching because I loved it so much.
Yeah.
But I'm like, hopefully it's like last year. I might be able to play them for 5 minutes, and then maybe when ESPN comes, I might be able to press pause and see myself for a second.
That's all you were going for.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Because I was actually like low key, I got a little like superstar stardom from the last year that I was there. You know what I mean? Like some people, it kind of buzzed that I played in the game against them. So anyway, they go up there. I go to try out, you know. And I get in the open run. I'm like, might as well do it again. So get out there. Crowd start going crazy though. I'm way better this time than I was the year before. So I'm actually like shaking people up. I did some stuff. This is how I know it was meant to be. I did a few moves. I can't even do them again. I don't even know how I did. It was just instinctual. I'm dead serious.
Wow.
I caught a pass out of the air. It's on the internet. I grabbed a rebound out of the air and then I like faked a pass midair and it came and then it landed behind me and I faked this way behind the back and I went that way. I couldn't even do it right now if you asked me to.
Wow.
I don't even know what that was.
It just hit you.
It
was meant to be.
It was meant to be. There's so many moments during this summer that were meant to be. But anyway, that night I got picked to play against my idols, the And One Mixtape Tour. Next thing I know, I'm in a battle versus Hot Sauce, who's one of my
And you forgot all about college at this point. You're like, who cares about my college team?
And you know, to me,
not who cares, but it's like, this was what I was meant to do.
Yeah.
It hits you when you're with them.
Yeah, so this is before I know there's even a contest, though. I know it's just about, I'm just thinking it's about that night.
Wow.
And so then next thing I know, I'm going against Hot Sauce, one of my idols, like the headliner of the And One Mixtape Tour. He even made me slip and fall. Like, he's a beast. But like, I think the crowd liked that I wasn't scared of him. I tried to do my thing against him. So I didn't have my best game, but it was enough, like people got really excited, you know what I mean? When I got the ball. And so they have to vote of the 3 people that got picked in the tryouts. They have to vote at the end of the night, like who's going on tour. So they picked me, and I didn't even know what they were talking about. Like Main Event, shout out to Main Event, my OG. He came in there and he selected me. They go, we pick you. And like all the cameras are there. And I was like, okay. I don't even know what they're talking about though. I don't even know what they mean. So afterwards, like the corporate people, the ESPN come in there and they fill me in on everything and my head's spinning. I'm like, you want me to go with you now? And they're like, well, yeah, you know, it's background check for a week, go home, you know, we'll meet you in Phoenix. It's like 2 cities away on the tour. You'll fly out to Phoenix and you're gonna be in this contest on ESPN. I'm like, mind blown. I'm like, what? Like, okay. So I brought it to my parents and they were super cool though. They like let me, they were like with it. But when you ask about, going back to your question, like when you ask about how did I know it was the call, I was just so excited and it felt like a cool opportunity and I didn't even weigh it in to like forfeiting eligibility. Like in my mind, I'm like, it's just fun in the summer. We're gonna go back to it and it's gonna be great. Which technically it was a violation of any game.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's kind of was my headspace at that time.
Yeah, I wonder what your other teammates were thinking when they're seeing you all of a sudden, like, hey, this is the red shirt, but then he's now playing, and then now you're on the biggest tour, the biggest basketball stage. I mean, it's like instant. Like this is, at that moment, rivaling the NBA. I mean, people are watching
literally,
this
I'm
as
more
much
of a fan
or
of it.
more.
In NBA, there was as much sports talk. Like there was as much sports media as there is now in social media.
Yeah.
We would have known, that would have been a conversation like, yo, this thing's like putting pressure on the NBA.
Yeah.
But no, there wasn't.
I'm sure behind the scenes there was.
Yeah, there was. But in the mainstream outlets, you know, they just talked about the NBA. So like when it came on, everybody watched it. I mean, I'm followed by.
It was the undercurrent.
Obama on social, and I've met like the A-list of A-list, and they know like, oh, professor, like they know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was huge at the time.
Yeah.
So I just tried out for this thing, man, and they asked me to go on the tour, and then things start going really well, and when the TV show came on, I still didn't fully grasp what was going on, funny enough. I've been on it for 3 weeks, and the TV show about to air, it's about 2 or 3 weeks behind where we're at. And I was hoping that I could press pause to see myself for a second, because season 1 was just about the N1 players. And they're beating us every night, so I'm like, whatever.
So you had a whole team of players that weren't the N1 players, that were just playing against the N1 players.
Yeah, there was an opposing team. So there's only one team N1. It was like all the legends, from the United States, right? The best of every area, which Philly, New York, Chicago, LA, the best of from everywhere make this one super team. And the talent level was it's like NBA levels.
And
crazy.
you were just the team that they played.
Exactly. So I was, the opposing team was comprised of 4 or 5 actual pro players that don't play in the NBA, like overseas pro players, and then it was made up, even NBA players would just come play because they loved it. And then it was like 3 guys from the tryouts that day, and then a few guys from the cities before that are competing. It's called on the bus. So if you're on the bus, so that it was made up of a different combination of hoopers, but it basically was all like an all-star game. You just do your thing. It's no offenses or nothing, right? Street ball.
Yeah.
So I go out there, next thing you know, I'm competing with my idols, and I'm actually able to keep up, but I actually think I'm getting lucky. And I'm nervous, you know what I'm saying? Playing those arenas.
You had a lucky night.
Yeah, I'm just thinking I'm getting lucky. And when that show came on ESPN, that first episode, I was like the star of the first episode. And I remember I was in Jackson, Mississippi in the hotel just watching by myself. And it aired and stepped outside the hotel. That 5 minutes later, everybody recognized wherever I went after that. Because think about it, there's so much media nowadays. For me to get that kind of attention, I actually have to do about 6 to 10 mil in a week. And then it's kind of people, I'll literally walk out my apartment and people mention that video. But back then, there's so many more eyes on that thing. It's nuts.
Wow.
So that's how that happened.
So you were tripping that
the ESPN. By yourself, I was on it. Almost, I actually got a cold sweat because I was like, "Damn, am I ready for this? What if you know what I mean? And then I don't like the way I sound. I'm like, is my hair like that? I look in the mirror, is that how I look? Because I'm next to my idols. I look like a nerd, just a kid kind of nerd. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On this hip hop street ball.
Yeah,
basketball tour.
And you were a lot smaller than the rest of the guys, from what I see in the videos.
Oh my gosh! I mean, I was a kid and
you
they
look
were
like
adults.
a teenager.
Yeah,
but you were a college student.
Yeah, Hot Sauce and AO and these guys who I looked up to, main event them. They're 30. Hot Sauce 28. I'm 18.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm a kid with adults. I didn't really mix it up with them.
So it probably even stood out even more. Because of that, in a good way.
In a great way.
Yeah,
I mean, at the time, I'm just embarrassed. I don't even know. I don't even like the name Professor. I'm like, Professor?
Oh, so how'd you get that name?
I'm I want to be like Hot Sauce. You know what I mean? I'm like,
why am I the professor?
Yeah.
Who gave you that name?
This guy, Duke Tango, he's a beast. His MC skills on the basketball court are
MC skills.
God-given anointing. His voice on the mic is
oh, okay.
The Let's Get Ready to Rumble dude?
Okay.
I'd actually probably biasly say he's better than that dude. No, literally. When people remember N1, they usually remember one of 2 or 3 players, but they can remember him, his sayings. When people would go crazy, he'd be like, "Oh baby," but the way he says is nuts.
And he just one night said, "The professor."
Yeah, he named me that. I think he thought I looked like a professor, but instead of schooling people on the court. So
there you go.
Yeah.
And it's ever since. Now this is your
now
name,
it's stuck and it fits and it makes sense, but at the time, I remember that even made me embarrassed. Everything made me embarrassed.
He was prophesying.
I don't even know, bro, but this summer was supernatural. The whole thing was a movie. I bet people, if it aired today, they'd think it was written. Now we know reality TV's written, right? The Kardashians actually have a script, right? They're actually kind of acting. But that was a real reality show. There's a bunch of drama and fights, but because
there was no reality show.
Yeah, it was just the culture, and we didn't even need a narrative. The personalities, the talent, it was just meant to be. This unit, this original N1 mixtape tour was special. We were putting on flawless, Globetrotter-esque but better games, but no rehearse, real, at a high NBA level.
Going to cities,
it's retarded.
The hood in cities, right?
Yeah, and then it went to NBA arenas. It was
wow.
Yeah.
The winning shot in I see that on the rise and fall of N1.
Yeah.
The winning shot. Tell us about that night.
Yeah, so we go all through the season.
Was that the time you got chosen to now be on the team?
Yeah.
Okay.
All through the season, I make it through. You know, every other game is called an elimination game. So you get voted if you don't. It's like up to these 3 guys who played the best and who plays the worst. The worst one's going home.
You could have got kicked off anytime.
Like this is a 33 city tour. I think Madison Square Garden was stop number 31.
Wow.
And I went all through this thing, and now it's almost like people are like, you think you're gonna win? And I was like, I don't think I deserve it. I'm just, I literally didn't think I deserved it because the dudes I'm playing next to, I mean, they're like this dude Spida and Helicopter. It's the best athletes I've still ever seen today. I mean, wow. I didn't even know God made people that athletic. Like Spida is actually like an inch shorter than me, but he could do like any dunk you could think, you know, windmill, 360 between the legs.
Wow.
Yeah, like it's nuts. So I didn't, you know, but low key though, and this what goes back to like when you grow up, like your parents and your coach is like so important who's looking over your kid. Cause I actually had nobody to affirm, except for my dad and my parent, nobody really affirmed how good I was. They couldn't actually give me an assessment of that. And like my college coach is political, right? They're not gonna give me a scholarship. They've already got scholarship athletes, so they can't big up me too much. You gonna have me start the next year? So like nobody really affirmed that I was actually like my skills were like very elite, but like I didn't know. So I'm thinking I'm getting lucky.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but anyway, we go to Madison Square Garden. That's like every Hooper's dream to play there. I had a kind of an average game up until the 4th quarter, but then I just started going crazy. I made a couple good passes. I got a steal, a fast break. I threw an alley-oop to Helicopter. The roof almost came down because, like I said, I look like a kid. I don't even look like I belong there. So when I'm like saucing and going crazy, I don't know my market appeal back then. I'm just like, think I'm a kid getting lucky. But people were like losing it. So then and one actually hit like what I thought was the end game shot. My homie's sick with it. My OG, he hit like a 3 with like 1 second left. And so I'm like, oh, we're losing, but who cares? You're supposed to lose. And one is like, yeah. But I'm like, well, we got to win, right? You know? So we go to a timeout, and I don't even remember what was said. I watched the TV show. I never can remember what was actually said. But we came out of the timeout, and then like nobody even went out there because I was like 10 feet past the 3-point line. This is before that was even a shot, right? Like Steph Curry made that a shot. This is way before Steph Curry. So I'm like this far. I'm like where this logo is, but past it, even probably like a little over there.
Wow.
So they taking the ball out, and nobody's open, but I am. So I'm like, oh, let's get it. So I got it. I like shot it, and the whole thing was slow-mo in my head, even though this day I remember shooting it, and then I remember thinking like, is it going in? And then like it went in right as the buzzer was sounding, like a movie, you know, like a Disney movie.
Wow.
And then it was just like, the place lost it. Like it was wild.
Wow. Yeah, that I remember seeing that in watching the documentary that came out.
Yeah,
it was on Netflix that came out. And if you're watching this, you've probably seen that, or if not, go check it out.
The Rise and Fall of AND1, Netflix.
But yeah, that moment of the shot, and so from that they put you on the team.
So actually, yeah, people think I won it right there, but no, we went to play in the Wachovia Center where Iverson played in Philly after that.
Okay.
But I had a better game there, just not like a game-winning shot, but a better overall game. And then we actually went to Main Event's hood, Linden, New Jersey. And so the theme of the show was like, all right, man, you did it on a commercial, but can you do it in the hood? This is like the roots of street ball. So we played like this pickup game, but we actually played against the AND1 team again. And I got this like battle with hot sauce or whatever, and we go through the whole thing. And then I actually won in Linden, New Jersey after that game. But I never thought I was gonna win. I didn't think I belonged because I know like if I played one-on-one versus Helicopter, these guys are just so strong, right? You just run me over but it'd be a tough play. But not realizing like, no, my skills in 5v5 basketball is like way higher than I even thought. And I didn't even learn it till I was older.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm even looking back now, like
almost living in a movie and just going, oh, I'm just getting lucky. Something, I don't know. When's this going to end? You know, it's kind of like the vision of like almost an optimist. You're just there, just having fun, living life.
Yeah.
And then you were in AND1. There was a season where you're now on the team.
Yeah. You're
the professor. Mm-hmm. You're traveling. And they're going to make another season. They're going to do all this stuff. I mean, it's now hit the roof of you guys got contracts. There's finances coming in.
Yeah, my dad negotiated my first contract.
Your dad negotiates your contract. Something that maybe many people don't know or haven't heard. I remember we were talking about this when we first met. Or you did an interview at my church when we played.
Yeah.
but the moment where and one had crashed overnight.
Yeah.
And you go from this extreme high, it's this roller coaster all the way up, and then out of nowhere, the bottom drops out.
Yeah.
And the next day you have no money. You're, I think, in LA at that moment.
Yeah, West LA.
And from what I know, you were selling your own jerseys.
It came down to where I had to do that.
Online.
eBay.
To eat, to live, to pay rent. And no one knows it's even you selling them.
Correct.
You're secretly making.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny?
You might have got more if you would have told it was you.
The first one I actually showed that it was me.
Okay.
But then I felt like it felt bad because it's like, man, like we're getting no opportunity. That show ain't even on ESPN. This don't feel right. So then I went anonymous.
Yeah.
And it's funny because like the photos that I used to post the jerseys, like I posted myself holding it, actually popped up on Instagram like a year ago. And I was like, where did I get this photo?
Wow.
This must be the buyer.
Wow.
No, it was just funny. But yeah, so things got hard. Literally, the whole thing just ended. What happens is, I don't know business, right? You know, a big company that owns a bunch of brands bought out the smaller company, which, I mean, we're talking monster business. They bought out for undisclosed numbers, but their profits, and profits per year leading up to that was the 200, 300 million mark. Wow. So they got bought out for an undisclosed number. So, I mean, we're talking 200 to 500 million, something like that. And it got bought out. They fulfilled the contract with ESPN for 2 more years, but it didn't feel the same. It wasn't like the height. The height was like 04 and 05.
Okay.
Then 06, 07, 08, it steady decline. I was still very well known. The game still sold out. We just did way fewer games. You could feel less marketing, less commercials, but we're still doing it or whatever. But then after that 08, we played a game in Dubai when Dubai first started being popping or whatever. And then it just like was over. And then it was weird, you know, like nobody even cared. I just felt like it was over and that was it. Nobody cared. And like there was no opportunities, man. I mean, I'm training people's kids to make ends meet. I have a game overseas, and one was still crazy because that social media, that news wave couldn't even get to them. It always was like that. When we went overseas, they're still living off last year's mixtapes or 2 years ago's mixtapes. And we went to some countries, it felt like you went to the 80s. Like they didn't have Wi-Fi. We had Wi-Fi for 7 years before it was even part of their lifestyle.
Wow.
So like overseas, and one's still like crazy. We're still going.
You guys would go over there a lot.
So And1, the company, wasn't doing them, but freelance promoters were doing them with And1 because And1s were licensed. So they were kind of owned by themselves in foreign countries also, even though some profits are getting kicked back to the main branch.
Yeah.
So like they would book us by themselves and I would go play a game like once every few months, but nothing was guaranteed. And so money was few and far in between. We know how expensive it is to live in LA. When I was on my And1 contract, I was living check to check. I just didn't know. I just thought my money would never run out. I'm like, this is so big and popular. And
yeah.
So I had like Mercedes, you know, I'm paying like huge, you know, paid that all quick. I got a condo in West LA, a condo or a house in Oregon. I got 3 cell phones. I had like a traveling Wi-Fi stick. There's a bunch of unnecessary stuff at the time. It just made no sense.
Yeah.
But
that when it all crashed.
When it all crashed, it was over super fast. Like, and then the recession hit, and I'd take out my savings.
How did that? Tell us about that moment. Tell us about. Were there any nights where you just felt depressed? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Where fear came in. Like, all right, now you've wasted your time on this street ball thing, and you know, maybe at that point you missed. You know, I don't know why you didn't. Maybe we could talk more about. You know, why didn't you go to the NBA? Or at that moment, was there any thoughts in your head of like, hey, maybe I could try out for the NBA? Or, you know, what was going through your head in that moment where everything crashed? You were living here, and then the rug got pulled out from you. Yeah.
So I actually was trying to make the NBA all the while time I was actually on it when people don't know this.
Okay.
So I played in like the IBL, which is like a semi-pro league, 04, 05. Played some overseas games. I played like every level. Then I played in the CBA, which was like the G League. You know, now they have the developmental, it's called the G League. It's like the league right under the NBA, but it's owned by the NBA. So the NBA didn't used to have a minor league. They would look in what's called the CBA, which is the Continental Basketball Association. So I played in the CBA like the last couple seasons that existed, trying to make the NBA, but even they weren't really giving me a shot. You know, they brought me in for ticket sales knowing I was a big name. But they already had their other guys. And then I worked my way up in the lineup and finally got like a starting job. I always had to like work. I always had to prove myself no matter what. No matter where I went, I'm always underestimated. Even sometimes today, a lot of times on the court, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So,
I've seen that clip a lot. Weren't you doing crazy stuff back then? You say, today, a couple hours ago.
What you mean, yesterday?
Yesterday, yeah.
But that's what it is.
Favorite reel.
That's me being competitive because, a lot of people, they just know me. I still today, right? A lot of people just know me from 10 years ago, or 15, 16 years ago on the AND1 tour, or 20 years ago. And they see me hooping today and they're like, you still playing? Like, what the heck? You know what I'm saying?
They thought you just hung
but then there's a whole new demographic. I've gained a whole new demographic that don't even know what AND1 is.
Yeah.
Or it's people who stayed up the entire time.
And what would that new demographic know from you? What would that, I mean, their number one thing is like this Spider-Man thing.
YouTube. It's all social media. Like one thing I made a goal of is to have heavy impact on so like some people see me and they say, oh man, you're that TikToker. And I'm like, cool, yeah, thanks.
That's where you watch,
And then there's some people are like, oh, that YouTube is nuts. I watch all the thing. And then some people are like, man, I see you on Instagram. And other people are like, I see you on Facebook. Like the older people, like I see you on Facebook videos. So my team actually runs them all. We do them all.
Yeah.
But YouTube is the focus. The YouTube runs the main narrative and overall media and everything, right?
Yeah.
So
And that's where in that moment of you're selling your jerseys, you're trying to figure out what to do, you're playing on the B team. That's the moment where somehow you got this idea to go out in a costume.
Okay, yeah. So here's what happened. No. So there's actually some time in between there.
Okay.
So 2009, we go broke. I actually start my YouTube channel, Professor Live, also in 2009 because I had been doing YouTube actually since 05, 06. Wow. I found a viral.
Was that the first YouTube video ever, 05?
Yeah. No. It came out 04. You can find Professor videos on there done by fans in 05. And so, I would see people and as a habit, I say, thanks for watching the show. Appreciate that. And they'd be like, no, I seen your stuff on YouTube. I was like, YouTube? So it's starting to buzz. So I looked into it, I researched it. I'm like, man, this is like free TV. I remember at the time, I'm like, this is free distribution. Nobody uses those words anymore, right? But I was like, this is like a TV channel. Like, because what really got me going was when I went to Australia and people saw YouTube there. And then I went to UK and people were like, YouTube. So I looked into it, and then I had my homies try to flood YouTube with our own videos for marketing, but it was really to get more bookings outside of AND1.
Okay.
So when the whole thing crashed, I started my own channel. And then AdSense came out that very year. But I didn't do Spider-Man basketball or try to make a viral video until 2013. So I was still busy touring, doing my thing.
You had still income. You had still
I had income here and there. I sold the jerseys. The jerseys when I was completely broke, right? I had no other option. So I did that to survive for about a year. Like those jerseys went for like 500 to 1,000. Like they go off though.
Wow.
So that held me down for a year. Still didn't know how to manage my money. I was like eating seafood. Like I'm eating like crab and lobster off living off my jerseys. Like I don't even know what I'm doing, right? I'm just trying to figure it out. So I was living good. These jerseys sold well, but it took a while, it took time, but the totality of what they made over a year was like crazy. So I'm still doing YouTube. Whenever I get the footage from somewhere, like I edit and throw it up. A fan actually showed me how to edit. I hit up a fan who lived in San Diego who edited some of my Professor mixes, and they were doing millions online. And I was like, bro, I have a weird favor to ask you, man. Would you mind if I came and you showed me how you make these videos, bro? I was like, I'll pay you. Whatever you want to do, man, I'll take He was like, just take a picture with me. I'm like, cool. We'll take pictures. I'll make a video with you. Whatever, because he had his own YouTube. But he showed me how to edit. And then he made my first 3 videos on Professor Live.
Wow.
And so the next 4 or 5 years, whenever I played in an event, I would try to get the video footage if somebody videoed it. I didn't even have my own people. And then I would make an edit and throw it up. And I kind of learned to edit. And I learned to kind of like it, but I didn't take it serious because I knew YouTube AdSense was there, but I knew you had to smash it to make money. So I just didn't think it was attainable for me because I wasn't an NBA. I'm like,
yeah, that wasn't your goal of doing.
And I didn't think a street ball player could have millions of followers. Because even I had social media during AND1, but it wasn't as prevalent today. So you probably didn't even know I was on there. I had 10,000 followers on each platform.
Yeah.
So
wow. And a side note is that you told me until recently you were actually still editing your videos.
Today I'm actually editing my last video.
Today is
Live.
your last edit.
My team is
What
awesome.
you don't know is that he has been editing his own videos.
Yeah, like a third of them.
With his team.
Yeah, today I edit like
Still.
a third of them, but my cousin's head of media, and he's getting so good that he can carry it. So like I'm giving to him and a team of other awesome.
Wow.
My team is awesome. Like,
wow.
Shout out to the team for sure.
Yeah, the team's awesome. But it's funny that the head of the team is still doing the work.
Yeah, because you know what I learned?
Editing's not fun.
Yeah, you know what I learned? Well, I actually love it. I actually do like it, but it got to be too strenuous trying to do everything else, and it's very time consuming. But, you know, with anything, it's like when you delegate, it's probably not going to be what it might go down a few levels. But my cousin got so good, he did some videos that I couldn't. I'm like, oh,
he might do it better than you.
Yeah, so but it's hard when you have a vision for something, because when it comes to YouTube, like some people are like, just give up the editing, it's no big deal. But we have such like a unique niche, and like you have to know basketball, you have to know hip hop, and you have to know how to edit a vlog. There's very few crossover, there's very little. So you're basically saying like, just have other people produce your stuff with your vision, and go do this, be hard. It's one thing if it's a podcast, that's easy.
Yeah.
It's one thing if it's a lifestyle thing, a lifestyle vlog, it's easy, but like basketball gets very tough. So when I had these visions, it was hard to get people to fulfill them. But we're at a place where I can. But yeah, I've been editing a third of my vids for like the entire time.
Wow.
The bangers.
That's awesome. Yeah. So maybe it's something that you watch.
Yeah. So anyway, coming up to 2013, big shout out to my homie, Robert Monroe. He's like, man, you ever think to try and make a viral video? And I was like, oh, millions of views is hard. He's like, well, you got one right here. It's 500,000. And I was like, oh yeah, dang. You know, I'm not even paying attention. Like, he's like, this one has 300. And I was like, oh, 300K. Huh. Let's try it, I guess. Do you think it can work? He's like, yes, it can work. And I was like, okay. So we came up with the idea. He was into like superheroes and like con culture, you know, Comic-Con.
Yeah.
He filled me in. All I know is like Spider-Man, the theater, Superman and all that, Batman.
Yeah.
So he's like, no, Comic-Con's huge. It's buzzing online. People are doing what's called cosplay. And I'm like, cosplay? It was done real lightweight at that time. So we came up with the idea to dress as a superhero and go play people. We did Spider-Man because it covered the whole body. So it's like a prank. It's like a prank video, a cosplay video, a sports video. It's like wow factor, inspiration, everything tied in one. But we didn't know how golden that was. Like this dude, Rob is like a G, like it's crazy. So we did the video. I shot it like 20 minutes. I didn't even miss a shot. Every move I did worked. Not that the competition was amazing, but it was like a flawless thing in like 20 minutes that my homie filmed on a DSLR. And then I edited it. The first day it did 1 million, and then after a week it did 6 million. I got hit up by like Good Morning America, CNN, NBC, ESPN. Wow. Like this is a real viral video. Like today to get that kind of attention, you'd probably have to do about 15 million in a week, 20 mil. Like, but this was a different algorithm back then. So if you got over 5 mil in a week with no paid promotion, no companies, yeah. And so I got 1 million subscribers immediately. Wow. I went from 15K at the end of the week, 1 million.
Wow. And you said it was just dinging off all night, like the sound of like likes or plays. I remember you telling me.
Yeah, I remember I just refreshed it. It was fake. Like now that doesn't happen as much. It does sometimes, but like I was like refreshing my YouTube and it's like, oh, like 660, refresh, 690, 710. Yeah. Like it's crazy. Like honestly, it was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was kind of probably another moment like the and one moment when you're like, oh, this is a whole new season of my life. This is a new...
It definitely was a new season.
Something switched. Like that night, okay, I can do more of this.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
This is a new call.
It's a new call, man. It was a new call, and I think God looked out, you know, because I had become Christian in 2011. This was 2013, so...
Now, and since then you've been in movies. Mm-hmm. You've met Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
There was even a movie that you made that didn't even come out with all these huge people.
Yes.
And
we're trying to get it out now.
Oh, trying to get it out. Okay,
yeah,
maybe I won't mention the name of it.
Nah.
But tell us about, because I think people don't know about your the moment you came to Christ. I think that would be real important for our viewers.
Yes.
Because you know you're on and one, you're living your life, not a believer, and then now you're this sold out believer. Like you're I would say you're a real Christian. That's what I say about you when people ask me about you.
I appreciate it.
You really do love God. You really do love people. What happened? What was that intersect for you tell the audience what happened in your life, and maybe it would mean something to them.
Yeah, you know, I'm glad you talked about that too, because I think even doing that viral video and like a new season, I feel like I only came because I was a different mind frame too, you know? Like new spirit, different mind frame in Christ. So like I was ready for that. I feel like it had to do with like
So the viral video happened post
2 years after, 2013.
saved. Okay.
So back in 2011, we were actually getting ready to, you know, we signed with a new company who was trying to revive And One. It was called Ball Up.
Okay.
And it didn't end up being a success, but it held me down in between the And One and the digital era. So I'm thankful for it. But we were promoting the launch of it out here All-Star Weekend. And my closest friend on the And One Mixtape Tour was Escalade. And Escalade is Mark Jackson, you know, ex-NBA player, analyst, Mark Jackson's brother. He's 6'9", 500 pounds. And we were doing our thing, partying crazy, you know, All-Star Weekend, you know, it was wild in LA. And we were about to launch this tour, and we went to a clinic in the morning. We were supposed to do something with Chris Brown, like a collaboration clinic. And Escalade was actually friends with Chris. So when we get there and he didn't show up, I'm like, this is weird because Escalade's super professional, you know what I mean? Like, he didn't show up. I was like, huh. Weird, like, I mean, I guess. And he wasn't answering my calls the night before. We were trying to go to some party. And then afterwards, we did the clinic. Everybody came through. It was fun. But then afterwards, somebody pulled me aside and said, hey, man, Escalade, I'm sorry to tell you, like, Escalade passed away of a heart attack last night. And I was like, what? You got to be kidding me. You know, like, I was like, went into shock, you know what I mean? And then I just
best friend, this
straight to weeping. I ain't cried like that in, you know what I mean? Years. So got the horrible news, and then it put me in a season of kind of just like, wow, you know, like really reflecting on life in a way I never had before. Because in my adult season, everything was so fast. Like I said, you even said it. I was like living a movie. So everything was so fast. Money seemed so easy. And one seemed like never going to end. But but up at this point, I'd been broke for a couple years. It was a little bit trying. And then this happens. It was more trying.
Wow.
And so I actually went to the funeral, and Mark was running. The reason I mentioned Mark is because he's like family forever, but he was running the eulogy. He did the eulogy at his brother's funeral, which I was like, wow, that's pretty courageous. You know what I mean? Like, him as a pastor did his brother's funeral. Like, it'd be hard to keep it together to do that. But it says so. That says a lot about him. But he did an altar call at the end. And he's like, man, if you want to be where my brother is in heaven, because Escalade got saved a year before that. And I didn't even know it. Like, we talked about faith. He probably told me, but I'm just like so young and whatever. I'm so superficial. I probably couldn't even hear what he was saying.
Yeah.
And so he said, if you want to be where my brother's in heaven, man, feel free to come down, give your life to Christ. And I remember like half of the place did it, you know, probably just out of sadness and fear and whatever.
Yeah.
But for me, it was like, it was real. Like, I felt like it was the right thing to do. I was a little bit familiar with Christianity because, like, my parents put me in private school, you know, like my senior year, and even when I was in preschool or whatever. So I heard about Christ again. And anyway, I had a transformation after that next few years. And then since then, it was like, man, I had so much peace, though, not having any money. Like, it was crazy after making like $20K a month and then going down to like $2,500 or whatever I was making. I remember I signed with that baller. I think making like $4,000 a month or something like that.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, yeah, rent's paid. My rent was like $1,100, you know, a few bills here, like 3 bills here.
Yeah.
And then it was like kind of simple. I was like, but it's beauty. I had like friends from my church and still got to ball, still did what I love. Yeah. Now I'm filming it every once in a while again. I was like, it's fun. It's cool. You know what I mean? And like, you know, just totally new season. And then after that viral video, I feel like it happened too, because like Rob was a real strong Christian too, and we kind of did it in just like a humble spirit. Like, let's just have some fun and do what we love. And you know, I think sometimes God can work when you don't have like these insane expectations. You don't put too much into it. You just, in humbleness, we just put our best foot forward, and we're like, we tried to honor him within it though, and he helped me a lot. Rob helped me a lot. He's like, let's make it fam friendly. Let's honor God with the viral vid. Let's not make it like these other ones where people get hurt or do something real like ratchet or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like we tried to do that. You know, like superheroes. This is fun.
Yeah.
And then like it went off. But I think looking back at it now, I wasn't ready for that. Like And One, like I needed that. You know what I mean? Like that end, that no fame. My whole adult life at that moment, from 18, I was basically like a kid, you know? It was everything was just too fast, you know?
Yeah, like you wouldn't even be sitting here today, the man of God you are, without that crash.
I wouldn't be here. No, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. But humbled, you say that, man. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
always even still trying to.
Yeah, because out of, you know,
Do it right,
and
you know?
I would say this about you, you're the same person that people are seeing right here. You're a very humble person, even though you're very good at what you do. You're like, you know, you're almost still like, don't realize how good you are at what you do. You know, it's not even a basketball now. It's like, you're good at that, but now you're a businessman, you're a CEO of a company, you're, you know, you're running teams and staff. And I guarantee your staff would say that about you, you know, but it's that humility, you know, that was ultimately at first probably insecurity. And then when you got secure in Christ, it became humility.
Yeah, easier to be vulnerable and more about
switched.
humility. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I'm not even the same person. Like if you knew me 13 years ago or whatever, you met me, like it's, I remember I was a totally different person, like very quick, in a matter of a year or two, you know what I mean?
Yeah, God transformed your
transformation,
life.
yeah.
Yeah, it really took
Like I
place.
saw the world, it's like the world was flipped upside down with new Christ perspective. It's almost like I looked at the world like through a keyhole and now more perspective. It was just like, even like my craft, you know, it would go all the way down to like basketball had like new life. Like I learned to love it again in a new, cool, fun way. Like I'm way more into the craft even than I was before, at the end of AN1.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So,
Yeah, it's awesome that God could take ashes and make beauty.
Yeah.
Take mourning and make joy. And I bet your friend, you know, is looking down at all you're doing right now. And, you know, and so excited, you know, I don't know if there's going to be hoops in heaven, but like, maybe there is, you know, and one day you're going to hoop
God
again with them.
invented it, right?
Yeah,
Everything's made
there we
through
go,
Christ.
man. I mean, I haven't found the scripture yet, but that there is a hoop, but I'm believing that in heaven I can dunk.
Yeah, it's funny. He might take a look. No, you know what's funny though? I had this combo with someone because we had that Jesus t-shirt. You know, there's that meme where Jesus crossed over the devil.
Yeah.
And some people were like, oh, that's blasphemous. You know what I'm saying? I just thought it was like, it's like God triumphs over the devil. It's kind of symbolism. Yes, there's some humor in it, but not in a cynical way, right?
Yeah.
But it is interesting to think, people think that like I could never, I was like, well, God invented basketball.
Yeah.
So
he
would know
maybe
it more
he
than
likes
me.
it. maybe he likes basketball.
It is an interesting combo, right? Funny.
Yeah,
but
that's awesome. But I'm so proud of you, man. And you know, it's not that you don't face fear anymore, but it's like I say in this book.
It's less though. Yeah, you know, I thought of that immediately when you sent me your book and you sent me the questions we might go over with this. I was like, what will we talk about? Because I was like, fear, the truth is a lot less with Christ, right? Like I can't even I was trying to think, what fears we deal with day in and day out?
Yeah.
And I think definitely before Christ, a lot more anxiety and hope you can live up to the moment and stuff day in and day out. But now it's almost like a lot better perspective on things, and then when God is with you, it's a game changer. So there's still
it's a different
fears
teammate
here and there, but with that teammate, it's different too.
Team.
And I realized I was like, what would I talk about? We have fears day in and day out, and I couldn't quite even pinpoint it, which is actually great though, because it's almost like we ain't supposed to live in fear. You know what I mean? But without Christ, you can't really. I don't know of a way to do it.
You know what I mean? He
mean?
tips the scales. I mean, the whole verse is 1 John 4:18 that really gave me the boldness to face even my fears.
What's first John 4?
Perfect love cast out fear. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, it's not us that kicks fear out, or even if we're trying to face our fears, we're actually going to be filled with more fear, because there's going to be a fear you can't face, you know?
Yeah,
you know
always, right? I remember I gave my TED talk.
There's always something going to crash. There's always something. Life is, only thing God promised us in life is that it's going to be hard. You know,
it's true.
Take heart.
It's just a good season.
He's overcome the world, you know, and so, but us facing that perfect love and having a healthy fear of Him, and like I said this way, in awe of God. Fear is just awe. It's just worship.
I know.
So having that healthy awe of God,
that healthy fear
makes you fearless for everything else.
It's crazy.
You know?
I noticed that too. Even we're doing our Bible study or whatever.
Totally.
Even only a few sessions in, I'm way more tapped into my relationship with Christ is already just.
Yeah.
You forget, because I've been in Bible studies a few times throughout my 13 years or 12 years as a Christian or whatever, but. Yeah,
and our Bible studies are raw, man. We got a pro fighter in there. We got I think tonight a pro skaters joining us, but these guys are just getting saved. they're
but that's how it should be, right? If it's not that, what is
they're
it?
preaching to us.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, man. And I think you're like an OG in there, which maybe many circles before you were like the new person.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool season.
But in our little discipleship group, you're like an elder.
Yeah, I know.
Not physically, but spiritually.
Yeah, totally.
God's really brought you a long ways from those days of saying yes at that funeral, that altar call, that funeral. Now you live by faith. Like even this building we're in was a faith move.
Yeah. 1,000%, right? For sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And still is in a lot of regards. It's funny.
Let me ask you this question.
I don't have it figured out, that's for sure.
what kind of random, but what do you feel like they left out of the rise and fall of And One? Was there anything that if you were the producer, you would have added in there?
That's good. I made a whole video of it actually on YouTube.
Okay.
I made my react to it. But I'm trying to think of something powerful because I know a few things that that could have improved it. Like they didn't put our best highlights on there, but 20 years later, it's hard. It's like,
and it looked pretty cool to me.
Yeah, it's like who's evaluating what the best, right?
Yeah,
ones that are on my career mix or my best of wouldn't have been. It only been like one or two that actually made it.
Yeah.
So I think that could have improved it, but I think. Dang, they did a great job. I'll be honest.
Yeah,
I'll be honest. I think they did a great job, but I think also it ended on a very sad note. Because there was kind of, the way it ended was uncomfortable, right? Like guys made hundreds of millions. Players who helped
like
it.
The negative.
They put the work in, so they deserve to reap the most benefit, obviously, right? They started 93. Tour didn't start till like 99, 2000. So them dudes work hard and they deserve it. But the guys who helped elevate it, and I'm not even including myself because I came on right before the halfway point. But the OGs, they really brought it to a new level. I don't think anybody even knew how big that was going to be. It just kind of went down like that, and they didn't reap the same benefit. I was able to reap the benefit because I paid close attention to social media, but it's probably because I'm a millennial. They were a little older. Social media was kind of like whatever to most of the guys, and I don't think they ever thought about branding as a solo person. It was almost like, that was the endorsement era, right? We had endorsement deals. So they didn't think they could be the machine. They could head up the CEO, the branding, the marketing decisions themselves. It's almost like they probably didn't even view that as possibility. But fast forward, it's like now if you do social, that's how you do it. So I was really tapped in on trying to make my career go longer too, because some of those guys' careers was they were at this, the third quarter, the fourth quarter of their careers. Like me, I'm like, And One ended, I'm only 25. A lot of people don't even know that, right?
Yeah.
Some people still think I was, my prime. They crack me up
the rest,
when they say my prime was in And One. I'm way better. In And One, today, my verse myself in And One, if that could be a verse, it wouldn't even be fair. It would literally wouldn't be
maybe
fair.
an alternate.
People all the time, every day.
Maybe AI can produce it for us.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, a lot of people are like, when you were in your prime, and I'm always like, that's just that's a fan TV viewpoint. But I think they have no idea.
Yeah. That was just the
I was
teaser.
25. So anyway, in keeping the movement going, I was more tapped in it. So sorry.
So maybe they could have ended on a positive note.
Yeah, that's what it was. I would have loved.
Yeah.
That's the answer to the question. Sorry, I took the scenic route.
Yeah.
Showing where people were at today would have been really cool.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
In a positive light.
Yeah. Show the positives of where people were at and what the legacy kind of has been in the culture.
Yeah.
And not even saying to bring light like we needed more shine, but I think it ended on a sad moment. Right on this very court, I got to talk to Dr. J, Julius Erving, who's Michael Jordan's idol.
Yeah.
It's so goated that he even came here. It's crazy. We had an interview right in front of this video wall right here. And he said he saw the doc and his reaction to it was I was so sad, man.
Yeah.
And I was
he ended sad, but your memories are good.
Yeah, and I think most memories are good. I think the narrative of most of the takeaway was man, that was amazing. And one is insane. That's if I talk to an NBA player or even Woody Harrelson. I just did a video with Woody Harrelson.
Their thought of And One.
Their thought is it was insane. It was an amazing movie. That time in basketball will never be duplicated. And I think for my OGs, I think they had those feelings too, but it's mixed feelings.
But that's what our world loves is a crash. They love to, that's the rubbernecking on the freeway.
Yeah. So I wish they would have showed it because I think it would even help them too. What's the narrative of them today? Let's go find them on social. What's good? What's going on now? You think could have helped everybody.
Yeah.
You know, because that was half of the story, but
yeah.
That's all.
Well, maybe one day you'll make that documentary.
We're trying. We're taking all swings as we speak.
Well, just a couple more. Tell us about Adam Sandler, Hustle, meeting Adam Sandler. What was that like?
Yeah. Oh man, Adam is
hanging
awesome.
out with. I mean, you got a significant role in this movie.
More
not
just,
Hustler, Hustle.
Hustle.
Hustler is not. We're not putting you in that one.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm a hustler business wise. You know what I mean? But no, like Adam was awesome. You know, we had a mutual friend, and during the pandemic in 2020, mutual friend hits me up. Big shout out to Joe Vesey who linked us up. But he was like, "Hey man, you around at 2 p.m. Adam wants to speak with you." So I'm like, I said, "Who the hell's Adam?" You know what I mean? He's like, "Adam Sandler." And I was like, "The Adam Sandler?" And I looked at dude's Facebook bio, you know, his info, and it said he works for Happy Madison.
Wow.
Production. I think that's right, Madison. But anyway. So he works for dude. And I was like, damn, that's crazy. But you know, this dude's dad, Peter Vesey, was pretty high up. I was like, yeah, he was always in those circles. I could see him working for Adam, so it's probably legit. So I was like, yeah, cool. Well, I'm thinking like it's gonna be an assistant calling me, or it's like somebody on three-way. But then I get a call, and the call already is like Adam Sandler. So I was like, boom. We talked for 20 minutes, 30 minutes maybe. And Joe even said, he's like, nobody keeps Adam on the phone for 30 minutes. But it was crazy because he's really down to earth. And then he was genuinely like a huge supporter of mine. Like, which is weird because I just like, I didn't think the convo would be about me at all. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah,
he just saying, he's seen all your YouTube vids. I watch, man, I'd love to do a collab. He's like, this is amazing. When are you doing the next, you know? And then I was trying to be like, well, I've seen all your movies too. Like, I mean, I don't even know why we're talking about me. I can't really figure out why, but thank you. And I'm like, I'm kind of like, whoa, that's the convo? Like, this guy loves basketball. And I think I knew that from the media standpoint, but I didn't quite know how much he actually likes basketball.
Wow.
And so he mentions a movie he wants to do in a couple years. Like, we'll hit you up. I'll write you a role. I'm like, I was like, that's courteous. Like, you know how push comes to shove. A lot of those things are just in the moment, right? People at Hollywood just, you say things that not have awkwardness in the moment just to feel good, and then it doesn't really come to fruition. And I don't care. He didn't need it, right? He didn't need to do that for me. I'm like, whatever. It's cool. We met.
Yeah.
So then they hit me up though a couple years ago. Hey, you want to do this thing? I'm like, absolutely. We want to do this thing. And it was a cameo. I just went up there for a day. Adam and I kind of stayed touch in the process. And then I got 13 seconds of screen time, something like that, during a Rocky montage of the main character, which is pretty big for an extra. Sometimes it's called like a premium extra or something like that. But even that got a ton of buzz that helped get my YouTube channel and all these other things. But Adam is cool. We still stay in touch. Like, I text Adam right now. He's super cool, and like, but he also knows like I don't bother. I'm like, I know how it goes, right, at that level. Yeah. So like, you know, I respect time and stuff. But he's a cool guy. Like,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. The question everyone is wanting to know is your love life.
Yeah.
What?
Let's go.
Tell us about.
I thought that was a joke. You told me before.
You know, I'm your pastor. I'm trying to help you, you know, in this journey. Yeah. You're not getting any younger. We need baby professors.
I'm trying, but yeah.
You know, we need you at a kids game, you know. Yeah. Is it, you know, has God called you to celibacy, or is there a future Mr. Professor?
I think there's a future for sure. I mean, who says no, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, some people do.
People always point to Paul, but I'm like, who makes that decision? Hey, yeah, call me celibacy. We're keeping it, you know, here from here on out. But
what a call, huh? What a call.
No, I mean,
I don't want to receive that call.
Yeah,
I didn't. Praise God.
I mean, who does, right? Yeah. Paul's a unique. I mean, I can't view Paul like his life is crazy. I can't even fathom it. But no, I mean, I thought I'd be married now. I mean, if you ask me, you know, a few failed relationships, but I think like I've always been more immature. You know what I mean? Like in that area, just in general. So like the relationships I've been in, like, I was talking to people who didn't compliment me, even though I had some great qualities. Like I met some great women before. But I think like in this season, marriage for me is like later. And I think because like we've got here now and the way things go, I wake up with joy every day. And it's great friends, good community, and things are good. And then, I don't know, like that's how I view it as like later. But you're right, I ain't getting much younger. But no, I have friends, and like it's not going on a date here and there, but like, I don't know. For me, I just reserved it for later.
Yeah.
And
so drop a comment in the DMs.
Yeah, you
No,
know what I'm saying? She was good. No.
Drop a comment in the YouTube channel. No,
Yeah, so
but
that's kind of how I view that, to be honest. But no, I definitely would like to be married. I'd love to have a kid one day. But I'll be honest, I always never really gave it serious thought as far as like we're taking
just
action in that
focused right now.
area. And I think that's why I kind of hold back on dating too, because like you shouldn't really get seriously involved with someone unless you think about marriage. But I always did and wasn't thinking about marriage.
Yeah.
You know, it was like just comfortable at the time. I think a lot of people do that, right?
Totally.
So
it's going to happen to you just like it happened to be on the And One tour, just like it happened to be in the Spider-Man video. It's just going to happen out of nowhere, just living life, doing what God's doing.
Good.
And drinking Zevias. We know you drink Zevias sometimes.
Yeah. I need more Zevias, too much soda.
So if Zevia, you're watching, Professor will be a full-time
Let's go. I love that.
Sponsor.
It's a good campaign.
Let's finish with this thought. Thank you for your time, bro. I appreciate you so much. And,
dude, thanks for the opportunity, man.
And all the things here, we could talk for hours.
I know, I'm bummed this time. Like it ran out. I didn't want it to run out though. Like, let's go. Podcasts don't need a time limit.
Yeah. What do we got? So let me ask this question: what role does what role does mindset play? So what would you say to someone out there? Mm-hmm. I think you seem like you have this. Even before you were saved, you have this positive outlook on life, this optimist way of thinking that created a fearless world around you. You know, you were already kind of fearless, but I think having Christ probably buffered some of those fears that were bigger than the old professor could have faced.
Oh,
right?
For sure. Yeah.
So, there's a kid watching right now. There's a young adult. There's a person watching right now just full of fear. They see you, this successful person, doing what you do. I mean, tell us, maybe, what mindset do you wake up with to face your day? And how important is mindset in being fearless? How important is what's happening up here to what's happening out here?
Oh man, it's everything. It's everything. I think I think that's everybody for me always wants to equate everything to business, right?
Yep.
Big influencer or street ball legend, or you get big things going on. So it's always like, how do we get successful like that? But I think what you learn,
cheat codes from YouTube.
What you learn in Christ is like you saying, your foundation of just sanity and life in general is needed to be on equal ground before you can tackle the tasks of everyday life, which can be more logistical and business. So for me, starting a day in Christ or with a Devo, you know what I mean? Or you listen to a Devo, read a chapter.
Yeah, what we're doing right now.
Read Declare War on Fear. No, but honestly, if I listen to your, you know what I mean? It could be anything. Something in the morning, starting with Christ, start out in prayer. Even if you're in a hurry, pray it up, you know what I mean? Try to listen to God. And I still need work on this, people always think if you made it, you got it all put together. But the truth is, what I've learned is if you start the day in Christ and you're in a season where you're more in it, then, if your relationship is better in that season, you're gonna be better for everything. So I would say when it comes to the fear or whatever I'm about to tackle that day, if we started the day with Christ in prayer, we're already on way better ground going into it. Not because there are days I forget too, right? I may give a heartless prayer or, whatever.
Yeah. And it will bring you to your knees.
Yeah, those aren't as good. You know what I mean? Even
you can either start on your knees or you're gonna end up on your knees.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Yeah.
God, I forgot to start with you.
Exactly. So I think you can even just see the day played out, even on not the worst day ever, right? But you can see how the difference of that day is. But long periods of time, with the relationship in Christ, it's just night and day as far as anxiety, fear, personal insecurities, because that's more what I dealt with. I did have fears, but a lot of personal insecurities. So on this side of Christ, like you said, having that teammate, I like that.
Yeah.
Having that teammate, submitting to that authority.
Yep.
it's insane because a lot of people on the outside of the faith, they want to look at it as like, oh, it's just rules. It might be a myth. Like, there's too much going on with it. But it's like, man, the realness and the power.
Meeting the real person of Christ.
Meeting the real person of Christ and then being rooted in it. And even on this side, right, you still have weight. I'm a little weight, my personal disciplines, you think 13 years in, you should have it. Like you said, we don't ever have it down. Got to be in the Bible study this season to get back to ultra focus, better relationship. You know what I mean? So I would just say to that person this side of Christ, I mean, you can't compare it. It's not even.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like a new hill, right? It's a new battle, requires a new amount of not practice, but in a sense, time in the gym, time with the, a new game, a new hill, a new whatever. So in our walk with Christ,
more spiritual focus.
Every level that God takes us to requires more of Him and less of us.
There you go,
it's not that you're like going backwards; you're actually going forward. But it's that forward motion that requires more food. It requires more, health. It requires more, being a husband required more. Being a dad it's like, oh man, I thought my dad could do a better job until I was a dad. And then I'm like, oh man, he was amazing. How could I even just keep up? Like, I feel like I'm a full-time Uber driver.
Well, I see how you live. You do a lot. You got the family, multiple campuses.
At each level,
this is about to. This might be a mega church one day. I don't even know. That's a new season, right? So
each level requires more, and I think sometimes we get hard on ourselves and we're like, man, I'm not spending enough. But I don't think God sees it that way. I think God's like, no, you actually just need more of me in this season.
Yeah, that's the truth.
You need more of me because you're, now you're a CEO. Now you have. It's different editing your videos and then paying people to edit their staff, and now they know you're a believer. Maybe they're not believers. You're having to work through all that. So you're not only, I see it this way, you're not only feeding yourself, you're now feeding others.
Yeah.
So like I don't know, any animal that gives birth, or a mother that gives birth, she's not only feeding herself, she's feeding that child in her womb.
Yeah.
She's, and so you're feeding the things that are under your care,
Yeah, and somebody also gave the analogy of like, you can't pour into other people if you're not pouring into yourself, right? What do you have to pour into them?
Yeah, what a great analogy.
Feed yourself spiritually.
The receiving. Yeah. And in this book, I put this, because there's this thought of like, because more is always more. It's never less. It's, you can't get all these dreams you have. The reason why God's not giving them to you yet is not because He's being mean. He's actually being loving.
He's being loving, yeah.
Because the more will crumble you.
You're not ready.
You're not ready.
I think
and He's protecting you.
I know.
And so more is never less. It's always more. And so whatever season God has you in, you can find joy in the fact that He says, "This is all you can handle right now. So I'm gonna leave you here, but I have that promise for you there." And so it's that daily bread, right? The Israelites, when they got food from heaven, it was daily. They didn't get enough for tomorrow. They didn't get enough for the next week. It was just enough to get through the day so they would come back to Him and trust Him as God. I think that's why every morning, you're not getting that stale bread from 2 weeks ago. It's like, hey, I need something new today. I didn't know this was coming. I didn't know this weight was going to be here. I mean, there's a weight to being a leader that you can't describe. Everyone wants to be you, but they don't know. They don't want to go through what you go through to be you.
Exactly. They don't even know what it looks like, right?
They don't even know what your morning looks like. Your day. I mean, they can YouTube it. They can like make this up. Oh, I'll just eat Professor's diet and do what But there's a lot more. That's the whole life that you've lived up to this moment. And in this book, I talk about just being a leader, people around you, and that weight of people and being a leader, sometimes it feels like, okay, just shut off to people, get tougher skin, just get through this. But really, I've discovered that no matter how tough of skin you get, it actually removes your real call, which is people. Because you can't get tougher skin and be close to people.
I know.
And so I talk about getting a tougher source. And I think that that's the key that you're talking about is just like, hey, I'm still every morning. If I don't get Jesus,
Stay tapped into the source.
I'm not the Grayson you want me to be.
No, I'm not.
I'm not
And
the
I've been
leader
in
that I
bad
need to be.
in seasons where it showed through too. You know,
Yeah.
like pray for all these things. And now I'm too stressed out. I got too much on my plate. I can't even tend to it all, and I'm not tapped into the source like I'm supposed to be.
And you can't be creative in that spot.
Yeah, you can't. And then I'm also not. It's like you can forget. It's like this is to inspire and impact people. You know, evangelize for Christ, inspire and impact. Then it becomes like less about the people. It's the bill spend.
Well,
So that's one thing. Like I go in seasons where I'm too stressed out. You're not tapped in enough. So I'm still trying to get those spiritual disciplines of being locked in every morning to kind of like set the tone for the day.
Yep.
But it's good, like you said. I think like, people aren't ready. They don't even. I was talking to somebody about tithing. And this kid, somebody I kind of like mentored, he was talking to me about tithing. And I remember being him, he was like saying like, yeah, I was like, I just don't think I need to tithe. It's kind of just a lot and boom, boom, boom. And he's like, do you tithe? And I was like, yeah, I've thought like you before. He's like, yeah, but do you tithe? Like, I was like, yeah. He's like, well, how much? I was like, oh, so you don't want to give any? And he's like, no. I was like, do you? He's like, do you? I was like, oh, $47K this month. Yep. He was like, he was like 40, what? And I was like, yeah, 47,000, the tithe.
Yeah.
He's like, you know what I mean? But it's funny because it was a moment where
he realized that God put him on his level and like, be happy with your level.
Yeah, exactly. And I had been in that season and like, I think like a lot of people could aspire, but then it's like, man, that weight on your shoulder, you better be tapped into the source, if you're on this side of Christ.
Yeah, and it's not equal amount, but it's equal sacrifice.
Yeah.
So that 47 to you is what felt like maybe the 100 to him, but he wanted to be to your level one day.
Yeah.
And so God wants to entrust him with that, but he wants to know, can I trust you with that?
Yeah.
And that is something that I will bring up in this podcast. You are a giver. You're a generous person.
And that was a good month, by the way. It's not always 46.
Listen, I'm a giver. And I get that you can't outgive God. And many people struggle with tithing, which is so weird because everything in our life actually belongs to him.
I know.
It's
and
not
it's hard
like,
too because people think you make it about money, right? We get in that convos, it can get sticky, especially with non-believers because they're like, oh, it's about money.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, it's like God runs everything. He runs your financial life too. He actually owns it.
Yeah.
So it is crazy, but I mentioned.
And it's freeing at the end.
It's always freeing. And honestly, I'll be honest, as long as I ever tithe, not too many years where I made less than the year before. It's almost just been the stairs. And who knows, we could tank out. It doesn't mean it's going to be invincible, but I never regretted no tithe, even just logistically.
Wow.
And of course, we didn't do it for that. We did it for the kingdom.
Yeah.
You know
Do you have
be
a testimony
giver.
about a time you gave and something God, because you can't outgive God. Do you have a story that hits you of, has it always just been like, man, I gave and I didn't see anything happen? Or was it like when I trusted God with that? Because where your treasure is, your heart will be. So when you lay your treasure at his feet, even the tithe is the beginning, then there's the offering, which is something you pray about, but if you can't give a tithe, you'll never give an offering, because an offering is a sacrifice, where you're going, God, I mean, I've had times where God said, give it all, I'm like, give it all.
Yeah.
Like we're saving for this. It doesn't make sense. And this is where people, it's funny how people will go do Netflix for $9.99, but when they have to give to God, or they, not have to, they get
money for free.
Get to give to God.
Yeah.
Even believers, they struggle with that.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is
tithe,
the only believer in the Bible that struggled, the only disciple that struggled with generosity was Judas.
Yeah.
He was the only one. When the girl gave the alabaster bottle, she broke it. The woman that came in and anointed his feet, Judas said, we could have, why did you allow her to do that, Jesus? Yeah. And we could have taken that money and given it to the poor. He was trying to act moral on something that wasn't right. Yeah, he was, it's always the righteous, more righteous than thou.
They do it today.
On not being a giver.
Yeah.
But you're a giver. I mean, and at a level that's like, I don't think many people even understand the level of sacrifice that looks like to give at that level.
No.
I mean, bro, people don't understand the pain and the joy.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean, the Bible even talks about a supernatural gift of giving. I would say you have that.
Oh, wow.
I would say that's a something in your life because of I mean, that's a high level to trust God at that level.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I guarantee people would say people that are well off are the stingiest people they know.
Sometimes, I'm always shocked.
And I wouldn't say that about you.
Oh, thanks.
You know,
man.
not because
Trying.
of just your giving with the church. Like even this time, you know, whatever. You've come to me several times. Hey, how can I, serve at the church? Can I help with the parking? Or you know, like you truly are. You have truly learned generosity.
Yeah, and I feel like it's owed too, though, right? Like, you're
yeah.
supposed to live for people. So, like, Jesus said, give the shirt off your back. Like, you're supposed to actually,
and you do it for me.
Yeah, you're supposed to give
them,
for God. Yeah, there you go. So, like, I always feel like I'm supposed to, like, and like I'm like, even for example, you mentioned this, like, it's a way to honor God. I'm supposed to use the space to help people. And I think even in our, just being completely vulnerable in our couple of years I had this space, or year and a half, whatever it's been, sometimes I lose sight of that a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And then I think financially got hard over here a few times too, but God always looked out. You know what I'm saying? As soon as I start stressing, be like, man, it ain't too expensive. Next thing you know, it's easy. Like money comes and goes so fast, right? So I think like in the process though, ultimately at the core, everything should be to help people, to bring people to know Christ, to just serve, you know what I mean? Like, so it wasn't necessarily learned. It's almost like more tapped into the sword, the more you submit, the more you realize you're supposed to. Jesus would give you a shirt. You don't think it lets somebody use something to shoot?
Yeah, totally. Totally. And it's that team, that person on your team. When you remember you're on his team, he's the captain of the team. Yeah. Then that's like, it's not just to advance your cause, it's to advance his cause. Yeah, and especially bros in Christ, right? I mean, yeah, so it's interesting how it works. Yeah, it's amazing, man. I'm so appreciative of you and our church, and appreciate you doing this podcast and writing in my book. And you've been just such a brother and a friend. And I can't wait to see what God does as we go, as we keep loving God and loving people. And I even see now you with some of the other guys in the group, them new in their faith, and you're able to like minister to them. A little bit. I mean, you got all the gems, you know what I'm saying? But sometimes, in a way that's hitting them from somebody else, of course, pastor's going to say that. Right. But when you say that, it hits them in a way like, oh, well, he's just one of me. Yeah. He's a guy going after his call. And so anyways, but I'm proud of you, man. And I guess just to close out, we're like 19 minutes over, but it's all good. Joe Rogan got the 2 hours. You know what I mean? Like, and we got the coffee instead of the cigars. You know what I'm saying? No Joe Rogan cigars. We got the Fear Not coffee. Why don't you, if you would do us the favor of and just pray us out? Maybe someone watching this, they're dreaming of being a YouTube star. They're dreaming of being a pro athlete. I know my son really looks up to you. He's a soccer player. He's the beginnings of professor as a soccer player. He keeps getting told there's only some good hours. He keeps getting told exactly what you say. There's only one Messi. You got to just pass. And I'm like, dude, there's going to be another Messi. There's going to be another. Anyway, but there's a kid out there watching. There's a pastor out there watching, believing for people like you in their church. There's a person that their whole life is crumbled and they don't know. They're hawking stuff right now that's watching this, that's touched by this. Would you just say a prayer over them? And I really believe the Holy Spirit. And there's someone watching this right now that isn't a Christian. And they heard your testimony about saying everything in my life changed, and they're thinking, man, I'm tired of my life the way it is. I feel we don't believe that Jesus makes bad people good, that he makes dead people live. And that was what happened to you. Yeah. And so would you say a prayer over those people watching today? And I really believe God's going to touch their life. Yeah. Yeah. Father God, we just thank you for this time, this opportunity to share. Thank you for Jeremy, Fearless LA Church, and everything he's got going on here. I pray for anybody who just watched this podcast. I just pray that, this was more impactful than just a casual watch, and that people could really come to know and understand the true power of Christ and walking with him and having that teammate and that authority and what that truly looks like. Not like worldly myths or anything like that, but hopefully this could truly resonate with them and they can know what kind of power anybody could come into. It's just a simple decision, as far as like giving your life to Christ and repenting. But
yeah, guys, so we just thank you for this opportunity. I just pray this reaches way farther than we could even imagine. And just thanks for the opportunity to share in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for joining the Fearless Podcast, Season 1, Declare War on Fear. If you haven't got your copy of Declare War on Fear, it's a great read. In fact, at the back of it, there are a couple hundred scriptures in the Bible that we've taken out of the Bible, put them in this book for you on fear not. All the times the Bible tells us, commands us to not be afraid. And then after that, I put all the scriptures that the Bible tells us to fear the Lord, that the fear of the Lord is actually the beginning of being fearless. And when you fear him, you have to fear nothing else. When you worship him, you have to worry about nothing else. And I wanted to put that in there for you. But you can get the book on declarewaronfear.com. And we're going to have a lot more of these to follow. So thank you for following the new YouTube channel and all the stuff we got going on. God bless. Shout out to Zevia. If you want to sponsor the professor and Jeremy Johnson, we are ready. I drink Zevia by the pack load. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.
You have planted a church in downtown Los Angeles.
Yeah. It is now in downtown.
It is now.
It's been all over.
Okay.
Los Angeles. But
and the
now
name of the
downtown.
church is?
Fearless LA.
Fearless LA.
Yeah.
Why did you name it Fearless?
The Bible says the truth will set you free. Not your truth, God's truth. Not relative truth, not subjective truth. Absolute truth will set you free.